Okay. So it's been a minute. We've all been away from the game for quite a while, and memories might be a little rusty. Um, if everybody could go around and first, before I ask people to um, do the summaries, we are going to retcon the end of the last session. We talked about it in between sessions, and so uh, Cordelia, we're going to pick up right after you picked up the pick. And likewise, Andy, if you had a scene in mind with Logan, if you want to do that, we can also scale back to make that possible. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like an opportunity to roll for that. So.
What was that?
I'd like an opportunity to roll for that scene. So.
Sure. Okay. So with that in mind, Cordelia, you've just picked up the pick, and Andy, you are still in the misty territory between Red Jack's court and Mr. Amati's court, with Logan as your guide. If everybody could give me a refresher on where your characters were when we last saw them. Oh, there's a smile on Frankie's face.
I was in that moment that should have been awkward after having attempted unsuccessfully to flirt with my possible axe murderer rescuer, and we are in a hotel room, and he had sat down on the bed to check his phone, and I had sent a text to Andy saying where I was.
Okay.
I was back home having a very loud and enlightening discussion with my father and pack member uncle person.
Mm-hmm. And we joked about him just being called L. I am blanking. I feel terrible. Elias. What? Do you remember his name?
I don't remember.
Oh, let's just refer to him as L for now, until I can double check.
I almost want to say Elijah, but I'm not sure that's right.
I have it written down as Elric, an old family friend who is also a werewolf.
Okay.
Elric. Fine.
Elric.
Good. No.
Of course, what Colin doesn't know is that he's actually the person that they based Mr. Moorcock based his Elric novels off of, loosely.
I am completely unfamiliar with that reference. So.
Oh.
Me too.
Ah, God, I'm old. That's all right.
Okay. And actually, I believe the very last moment that we saw with you, Colin, was Elric had just left the room to make some phone calls after you had convinced him and your father that no, we need to not just hunt Mom down. We need to find out who offed her, and we have other things we have to do.
Right.
And it kind of seemed like your dad was on board, and yeah, okay. Cordelia and Andy, where are your characters?
Andy is walking through the Fey realm with Logan en route to meet with Logan's dad, although I don't know that Andy knows that. But Logan's been a little bit like overtly flirtatious, and so Andy is kind of forgotten for a moment where they are or why they should be worried because hormones.
Well, and to be completely fair, even aside from the hormones, which would completely do it,
they don't know where they are, literally.
Right. He did give you some drugs.
Yes. So far he's thinking it's quite a pleasant trip, but
yeah. Okay. And Cordelia, when last we left off,
I think I was just waiting in Andy's room.
and
Right.
and not seducing Andy's father.
Not seducing Andy's father.
oh, come on, Mr. Barza.
Listen, I mean, she's hot. If he is seduced, that's not Cordelia's fault. She's not trying to do it.
Fair. Okay. So yeah, actually, going straight off of that, that's the scene that I want to kind of get us rolling on, because it has been long enough, and since we are getting to this point in the season, I have some expository material to sneak in.
This is a bad time for me to need to use the bathroom, damn it.
We'll wait for both you and Colin.
Another drink. What'd you say? The last part?
Oh, we're gonna Andy just did a bathroom dash. So but we're going to begin on our starting scene is going to be Cordelia. As soon as Andy gets back, we will roll in with that. What was that?
Nothing.
He didn't realize
I didn't realize that
there was a person
there was a
missing.
person missing. So I was like, waiting for people to start.
Okay.
Oh, I don't have my old phone. Can someone send me a link to that PDF?
Which PDF do you need?
The one that has all the moves and class stuff on it.
Sure.
We switched phones, and I just realized that I probably don't have it on this thing.
Let's see.
We haven't played in a while.
I know.
Where is? I've sent it to the group chat.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So I like Cordelia was the last one to describe where she was. So I kind of want to pick up right there. The last that we had seen Cordelia was that Cordelia had been kind of like looking through Andy's room, not being too invasive, but looking for a sympathetic token, which has a number of uses. Like this is by no means is this an inherently conniving sort of thing to do. Like there are things that you can do with a sympathetic token that would be helpful to Andy. So you've kind of been looking around, and there had been that moment where you had looked at the jewelry, and we had talked about the contrast between the jewelry and the gifts that Andy's mom had given them versus the gifts that Andy's father had given them, and the purity of the metal. But you had gone with a guitar pick, if I remember correctly. Yeah, and Andy, if I remember correctly, you had said that guitar pick had been a gift to you from Logan.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So in the original version of this, you picked up the guitar pick, and before you could think about it, Andy's father kind of poked his head in, and you stuffed it in your pocket. Rolling that back, Cordelia, you are holding this guitar pick. Andy, what color is it? Describe this guitar pick for me.
It's kind of an iridescent. It almost looks like it's not like that expensive or anything. It's just a regular guitar pick. But the color is kind of like mother of pearl. It's pale and shiny, and if you turn the light the right way, it catches the light kind of like teal and purple. And
Okay. So yeah, Cordelia, you're holding up this guitar pick, and like of all the things that you could have chosen, your instinct said that this was something that was of surprising, or not so surprising, but this is of a higher amount of personal value than you. It's a good thing to be a sympathetic token.
Yeah.
And you don't automatically know all the backstory behind it. But you do start to get some impressions. We had described how a couple sessions back you had done some, you kind of like brute forced your way into being able to see what was going on in the ward estate. And I've just kind of been rolling with it that brute forcing kind of has made you a little bit more open in the way that's not quite as controlled. And so as you're holding this guitar pick, you have the vaguest impressions of some of like when Andy would have been given it by Logan. And it's like looking through frosted windows, right? You can hardly see anything, just these shapes that you kind of know who they are. Because we've established like at the very first party, and you've been to a number of parties before that. You know who Logan is. He plays at all the best ones, and hosts the best ones. And as you're looking at this, you also just have for a moment just again through like looking through frosted glass, you see Logan and Andy walking together in a landscape that has no distinguishing features, heavily misted. And again, it's you can't make out any details. You're not even sure what this is, but you catch that. And one of the things that actually I'm gonna go ahead and should probably make this a gaze into the abyss roll.
Okay. Is that dark?
Yes.
Okay. So I have a dark 2.
Okay. Yeah.
22.
So that 4 on the die plus your 2 comes to 6, which
Oh.
the abyss shows you confusing and alarming visions, but oh no, you fail the roll. So everything that I just said is still on point. As you're looking into this, all you see are these completely opaque. Like you have the vaguest impressions, but it gives you no details whatsoever. But there is something that jumps out to you. And you only have a fleeting moment of this before you get pulled into the next vision. But for that fleeting moment, you realize that one of the reasons why picking up this guitar pick, you were able to like get that impression is that it's like you can tell that Andy has emotional investment in this, but Logan had emotional investment in it too. And for a moment, you realize that this guitar pick, functionally serves as a sympathetic token for both of them.
Okay. That's cool.
Nice.
And like this is something that hadn't really come up before, but the fact that one object can be a sympathetic token for multiple people, like it feels weird. Like it feels like you've gone from doing addition to advanced math, but there it is. But before you can spend too much time on that, you get pulled into a vision of the wards. Which, for a gaze into the abyss, it's an 11 on the die.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So you see this in like clear lucidity. And you realize that you had, like, when you had used the entire box of sex toys as the sympathetic token to brute force your way past the magical defenses of the ward estate, that like your connection with Duke Ward is absurd. It is like there is a psychic highway that's going there. But so yeah, what the vision shows you is that David Ward and Duke Ward are having a confrontation. You're not sure where Craig Johnson is at this point, but it's just David and Duke in the dining room having a very, very tense, almost angry discussion with each other. And particularly, you can tell that Duke is rather disappointed, like he's been pulled away from something, and David is like, no, we're doing this now. We are talking about this. And what he says then is that the Coulson boy broke into our house. He broke into your room.
stole all my sex toys.
Well, yeah, literally, that's what he says. The next thing that he says is he broke into your room and he stole your sex toys. And you can tell for a moment that the Duke, like, one, the implications of that haven't hit him yet, but
Right.
two, now he's thinking about sex and how he's not having it. But David presses him and, like, do you know why he would steal your sex toys? Can you think of any reason why he would risk breaking in here to steal your sex toys?
Teenage shenanigans.
Well, and to be fair, Duke is rather fond of his sex toys, so you know, like, who wouldn't want to steal them?
They were top of the line.
Oh god.
They're worth a lot of money. I mean, they're
They
like,
aren't cheap.
Yeah.
those are expensive.
Right.
Definitely. So the next line out of like as Duke is kind of stuttering because like he's still in the mode of I want to be somewhere else doing something else. Why are you interrupting me? And not quite realizing the degree to which David is upset. Because David has this kind of like seething anger, right? He's a lot more controlled. And he says, why would a werewolf who's dating a witch steal personal objects from you?
How do they know about my love life? These people keep track of teenage romances. What's wrong with them?
A little
I
worried.
feel like Cordelia is seeing this, right? Because I
Yes.
feel like she would be like, dating? Dating? Okay. Like,
Good.
Yeah. And I kind of picture the I love that imagery of the camera is like is doing this very intense shot of David as he says that, and then it does a jump cut to you with your eyes closed, obviously in a trance, and like dating. Oh, so and then it jumps back to the wards, and
oh,
Last
Wait,
5 seconds, you were
froze.
frozen.
am I back?
Rewind 5 seconds.
you're back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Duke is beginning to get out of his I want to be in the other room mood as like the fact that his brother is being severe starts to actually like dawn on him. And David doubles down. You know, the kid whose mother died, the kid who has been getting into all of this shit and causing trouble, that kid, he's interested in you, Duke. And then he pauses for a moment and realizes that the word choice. He's investigating you, Duke. And then he looks Duke with piercing eyes, just like deep into Duke's soul. Why would he be investigating you, Duke? Why do you think that is?
Oh, Duke's in trouble.
Honestly, I don't even remember. Oh, right. He met with that one dude. Right. Right. I'd forgotten he met with the guy I was following because he was all the employees. Nice. Spilled stuff.
Oh.
Let me keep going. I can hear.
We are so in over our heads. They think we're so much more competent than we actually are.
Oh, it goes one step further than that. Oh, because David then, as like the color goes out of Duke's face, David stares him down and says, "That kid thinks that you're the killer. That kid thinks that you're the one that killed his mom." Do you have any idea how tired I am of cleaning up after your failed mesmerized, your failed mesmerisms? I'm tired of this shit. And if you fucked up and offed the wife of a member of one of the hounds, we're gonna have a problem. I had been warning you time and time again not to fuck up again. And Duke is kind of cowering at this point and professing his innocence. He didn't do it. To which David, not believing a word of it, because he's known his brother for centuries at this point, he gets directly in Duke's face and says, keeping the loyalty of the hounds right now is the priority. If that kid does think that you're the one that did it, and I'm pretty fucking sure that you are the one that did it, I'm gonna throw you to the wolves. Tristram's control of them is limited enough, and you're too much of a pain.
I really appreciate the word choice of throw him to the wolves.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. I really appreciate it.
Yes. And at that moment, there is a buzzing as David gets a cell phone call, and the vision fades out. Because you did roll so well on that gaze into the abyss, is there anything that you want further examination on?
Can I watch for another few seconds after David leaves, just to see how Duke is reacting after his brother leaves?
Sure.
If he looks like he feels guilty or feels
Sure.
whatever, just how he's taking that information.
Sure. So David.
So, how's he look?
David pulls out the phone and walks out of the room to talk to whoever's on the other side. And we're left with Duke. Duke pulls out a chair from the dining room table and sits down. I believe I described the room as having an excessive amount of windows that had stained glass in them, and then had lights on the other side to light up the stained glass. So as the camera is panning around him, we see the different colors, different shards of glass hitting his face in different ways, creating a patchwork of different colors. and he looks worried. Um, the closest description that I can think of, and Cordelia, your character's mom, we had established had responded to the stresses of being a witch by turning towards drugs. So you have some
Right.
familiarity with that. He looks like somebody who is going through a withdrawal and isn't entirely sure what they did. Like his world it feels unreliable, and he knows that he's an unreliable narrator in his own world. But he
Okay.
completely believes that David is like, this is not an idle threat.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. And so we come back to you in Andy's bedroom holding the pick. Do you have it? What do you do? How do you respond to having experienced this?
Well, so I haven't been at Andy's house for very long now,
No.
right?
Yeah, we had it's still pretty early into that process.
Sure.
Just long enough to catch his dad watching Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Do what?
Said you've been there just long enough to catch his dad watching Looney Tunes and been offered snacks.
Right.
Yeah. And he's already dropped off the briefcase.
Yeah, so I've got the briefcase.
Yeah.
So I think that Cordelia is gonna go ahead and open up the briefcase and start looking through and see like if there's anything inside that she can like get or glean anything important from.
Sure. And if I remember correctly, you'd gotten a low roll when you grabbed the suitcase, right? Or the briefcase.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So the last shot that we see of that scene is you go over Andy, does your room have a desk?
Yeah.
Okay. Cordelia, do you open just to get the mental image, do you open the briefcase at the desk or on the bed or sitting on the floor? How do you go about that?
I was thinking I'd probably open it on the bed.
Okay. So the last shot that we see of that scene is you, like all of this, and like you have experience with visions, but this is a little bit more uncontrolled than you're accustomed to.
Yeah.
You open up the last shot is you opening up the briefcase and you begin thumbing through the papers in there. And there is a slight feeling of consternation as you do that, as you realize that most of the papers in here are like tax documents. And if these are like, on the one hand, Andy is having thoughts. On the one hand, tax documents might be valuable. On the other hand, if there is somebody that finds that is emotionally invested in these, they might not be a very interesting person.
They might be emotionally invested in the sense that they have invested hours of frustration staring at these things.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, the last shot is going to be you looking through these and realizing that it's, you know, like some of the most mundane paperwork that it possibly could have been.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So then let's go ahead and jump. Now that heavy-handed expository moment is over, let's go ahead.
Yeah.
When we last left, Andy, you had a scene in mind with Logan before you arrived at the Feyland version of the Amadi estate. Describe that scene for me. What do you have in mind?
Well, I was just kind of thinking that like it was like it would take them a little bit of a trek to get where they're going, at least as far as Andy can perceive.
Mm-hmm.
And Logan's kind of acting as a guide or whatever, and showing off a bit, like they're getting there, and there's definitely a destination in mind, but there's also a little bit of like, look at this cool place, like kind of priming Andy for like the meetup, like in a very like softball way. But like one of the lines that you had given Logan last time was something like, well, now you're gonna be like, now you'll really be going to the good parties or something like that. And so
Yeah.
I was gonna have Andy like roll hot and try and kind of flirt back and see if couldn't extract a sort of like playful, what seems like a playful promise that Logan will indeed take him to the best party, or like be a good host or whatever.
Sure.
At some point, like,
yeah. That sounds like you're trying to turn him on.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's going to be a hot. And you got 10 on the die. So on a 10 plus, you gain a string on them, and they choose one. They either give themselves to you, they promise something that they think that you want, or they get embarrassed and act awkward.
I don't think it's really Logan's style to be embarrassed.
No, and yeah, no, he is not going to get embarrassed and act awkward. He could potentially give himself to you, just, you know, then and there. But I mean, the context of this is a pretty reasonable reasonable ask, and the obvious thing is you're saying that you want something. So yeah, he's going to promise something that he thinks that you want, and in this case, he leans in and thinks about it for a moment. You had said that you were trying to get him to take you to the best party.
Yeah, I'm trying to kind of set it up so that if we have the season cliffhanger, that's like the thing is walking into what will eventually be Andy's court.
Sure.
Mm,
Okay. So yeah, he leans in and
And if I have a loyal flirt with me at the same time, all the better. Somebody who knows it better than Andy does.
sure.
Keep him from getting a dagger in the back.
So yeah, he leans in and with a fairly seductive tone to his voice, articulates that of all the parties in Loxvale that will be hosted this year, he guarantees that the ones that he takes you to will be the best.
The ones. Oh, Andy's not gonna forget that.
No, that was me enunciating poorly. That it was he's not he's his promise is like he's probably going to take you to parties, plural, but the promise itself was singular.
Mhm.
And with that, he gives you a grin and starts to walk ahead in the mist, beckoning you to follow him. And you can feel the influence of the drum.
Yeah, that's not going to be hard to tell.
No. Okay. So I have a number of scenes that I have notes for, but those were the two things that I wanted to definitely just hammer out. So now it's open. Who like you're all in different spots. So who wants to go next?
Frankie up to.
No? Me?
Cordelia was trying to voluntold you.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry. I was trying to figure something out, and took me a minute to even realize it's like, oh wait, no, I'm supposed to respond to that, aren't I?
You don't have to.
No, I might as well.
Thing, so.
The last thing that was going on in my little slice of the world was, what did I say? Oh right. Toddy had sat down on the bed, and Frankie had sent a text to Andy saying, "This is where I am." So things are a little awkward. She had kind of attempted to flirt by fluttering her eyes, and it was ridiculously over the top. And he
Winking at him.
yeah, and just before that, she had gazed into the abyss and gained temporarily scent of blood, which caused a momentary feral expression to pass through her eyes, changing her from baby bird in need of rescue in his eyes to something possibly dangerous here. So he's like, I'm not sure this is a safe situation. And she's kind of like, I don't know what to do now because I'm awkward to begin with. And things just got strangely more awkward. So her next fallback, of course, is get in touch with Andy, who isn't responding because Andy is in another dimension or some such thing.
We'll get to that.
We don't know when.
Yeah, she doesn't know.
Andy might be back already. We don't know yet.
Yes.
So
How it works.
at this point, since it's been such a weird day, I think Frankie is going to. Is there one bed or two in this room?
There's just the one.
Just the one. Okay. Sheena is going to sit down on the other corner of the bed and kind of stare at the wall or the mirror or the TV or whatever's in front of her and say, "Today I learned I'm not a real person."
Oh.
Just like that. And I'm not sure how to deal with that. I don't know how to deal with most things, as it turns out. I just kind of try to follow through with whatever other people around me are doing, usually. But they all seem to have a better idea of what's supposed to happen. And I'm still trying to really understand what happens in the TV shows when somebody kisses someone and then it goes to black. And why do boys turn into dogs?
Oh, still, I'm getting shades of still shooting for the awkward seduction in there. Okay. Yeah, and if you want to turn any of those into, like, I'll have Todd respond, but if you do want to, like, use a turn on in there, let me know, and we will go ahead and do that roll. But if not, I'll just have him respond organically.
It will go with the organic.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm curious. She's not really attempting anything. She's just doing some exposition, so to speak. I mean,
Yeah. Okay. And I'll say that, like, as this is going on, his phone is intermittently buzzing as people try to get a hold of him. But you can tell, or maybe you can tell. I'm not
a
sure.
little distracted from the phone.
Yeah. But I was gonna say, Frankie can tell, or most characters would be able to tell, but you can decide whether or not Frankie can tell. But there is a moment, like, as you're saying this, like, I mostly just, do what the people, like, I try to follow everybody else. Everybody else has a better idea what's going on, and I just I don't know, so I follow suit. Todd gets this very perplexed look on his face as he turns around on the bed in that way where he's still sitting facing like, his legs are facing the window, but he's kind of like twisted his body so that he's looking in your direction. And the thing that caught him off guard was this idea that you're following, this idea that like, you respond to other people rather than like, taking command. And he seems perplexed at this, and says something to the effect of, "You have way more potential than that. I guarantee you have way more potential than that. Look, I know that you're young, and it sounds like this is a confusing time, but the guy who leads the guy that leads the pack, Tristram, I can tell that you're a lot like him. and he's an amazing leader. He's the best leader. And I think that you are able to do that too. And with that, he
Just as a reminder, can you tell me who Tristram is? I think we know him. I'm blanking on that.
yeah, he is the leader of the Huntsman militia.
Did we meet him?
He has never been on screen.
Okay, never mind.
He's just
then.
been mentioned a couple times.
Yeah, he's been mentioned
Mentioned.
once or twice, but we have not seen him yet.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
Perfect. I didn't
like-
have an image in my head.
yeah,
So,
yeah. We have no clue what he looks like, and like, yeah. There was a reference earlier to in this session to where David Ward was saying, you know, Tristram has control over the wolves, but you know it's limited.
Yeah. Totally.
In direct contradiction to Tristram's the best leader.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So like, and for all of your interactions with Todd so far, Frankie, like he has been characterized as a, like, I mean, your first glance at him was this very feral, arguably psychotic axe murderer. Then the next impression was this completely devoted guardian, followed by absolute confusion, followed by wanting to protect the little bird, followed by, oh, this is not a little bird. This is, and all of that has kind of averaged out, and like that blend of the feralness that he had caught, along with the uncertainty and the little bird imagery, like all of that he's starting to settle in on, you know, what he thinks you are and what your personality is, and so on. So yeah, he has gone from this like overbearing protector figure to, like, when he says that, he is being legitimately encouraging. How does Frankie respond?
Roommates him.
Ah,
My vibrator.
oh,
God.
it's a good thing I don't try to monetize YouTube.
You're all right.
Yeah, that just. Oh, you haven't been around for the game sessions prior to this, so you have no idea.
Yeah, how does
now I
Frankie
can't
respond?
see. um, you're so much more than that. You're so much like him. He's such a great leader. Maybe I should meet him then. I could use some more good role models.
I like it.
And when you say that, there is a like, all of this time, ever since he looked down at you on the road after putting you down, he has had this internal conflict, because he had, on the one hand, he felt like he needed to protect you in this like overwhelming fashion. On the other hand, he just bolted from the pack. And so, and with him ignoring the the phone. Like it's been this constant internal turmoil. And when you say that, he gets like that burden disappears and he smiles.
Because now he can pass this off to the boss.
Yeah, now there's, there
Yeah.
it isn't a conflict. And he says, yeah, we can do that. Then he reaches for his phone and unlocks it and looks at you and says, do you want me to call him right now?
Okay.
We're never getting Frankie back.
And so the last that we see in that scene is him beginning to dial the number and put the phone up to his ear. Still, and he's like calling the big guy directly and ignoring the 20 voicemails.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
so
idea that like we have to go rescue Frankie from the leader of the pack.
Except that when we get there, actually, Frankie's gonna be in charge of the pack at this rate.
Oh, that would be funny. Huh.
So as he is holding up this phone, what is Frankie doing at that moment?
I'm just gonna watch him while he makes his phone call.
Okay. With that kind of like
What?
the
A
facial
blank
expression,
canvas hopefulness sort of thing.
right, but still taking everything in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me.
All right. Let's see. Okay. So if we try to cover everybody that for at least the first round, that would bring Colin up.
All I care about doing for the rest of the night, because we got to Eli talking to people and start getting this emotion, is to try to heal my wound. I emotionally had healing between myself and my father. I know that has to do like with healing the physical wounds in this game. So I don't know how to go about it, but I would like to attempt to heal my wound somehow.
Sure. Well, the mechanical process for healing harm or healing a wound is basically, ideally, we set up an entire scene that is dedicated to this is the thing that you're doing. Like if everything is appropriate, we can kind of just sneak it in. But with this, I mean, Eli or Elric is on the porch talking on the phone, so it's you and your dad right there. So
and I had showed them the big wound, so like they saw it. So hey, Dad, maybe help me patch this up. Do we have anything in the house with her? Still hurts.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So your dad, and he's been through a fairly wide range of emotions about this, but like as you're like pointing out this wound, his response is to like he's not concerned about the wound at all. Like he is not going into paternal like, oh, let's get you fixed up. He is still
Coach, walk it off.
no, he's in proud dad mode, right? And in part because one of the phenomenal things that Cullen had managed to do in the last session was get his dad and Elric on board. And so Cullen's dad has a renewed sense of purpose, right? So this is being channeled into an uncharacteristically positive encounter.
Yep.
And he puts up a finger like and then goes and gets into the kitchen and like one of the things that you would never really like, it always been kind of weird. Like we described how your guys' house is fairly run down and is like two aggressively depressive people live in it, and it shows. The sheer number of things that aren't maintained is the most distinguishing feature.
There's dog hair everywhere.
Yeah. And I imagine that along those lines that there is 3-week-old pizza in the fridge, and that it's not necessarily well stocked on top of that, right?
Right.
But one of the things that's just always been a kind of a contrast to that is that there's this one cabinet in the kitchen that just has mason jars and like various other containers of just, you'd always have like spices and herbs and things like that, right?
Sure.
And you never saw him actually cook with these things. You never saw him cook. There's always this kind of assumption that, like maybe your mom, this is left over from your mom, and but you don't remember seeing her use them either. They've just always been there.
Sure.
And
Like the Tupperware.
what's that?
Like the Tupperware cabinet.
Yeah. And so you hear from the kitchen the sound of him like getting some of these containers out and starting to open them up, and it occurs to you that he's making some sort of tincture. He's making a thing, well, not tincture, but he's making a thing out of these things that you've never seen be used before. And there's something bizarre about thinking of him knowing how to mix herbs together to produce, actual effect.
Sure.
Right. And so yeah, I won't go into the full process of it, but when he comes out, he has a shot glass that has some sort of like grainy green liquid in it. And that's in one hand. What?
Roommate.
Oh, okay. And in the other hand, he has just this huge plastic cup that has something sloshing in it. And he walks in front of you and sets the huge sloshing cup to one side, sets a shot glass to the other, then goes and gets a beer and puts it next to that. And he points to it. He points to the big glass, says, "Take that first." Then he points to the shot glass. "Take that to get that taste out of your mouth." And then he points to the beer and drink that to get that out of your mouth.
All right. Did you? Okay.
And I think I'm going to call on you to keep your cool.
Okay. Hey, I get. It acts as if it's a 2, so or I think or something because of spirit armor.
Okay.
It does something.
Yeah. So, I mean, the obvious thing would be like gagging or otherwise having a very visceral response to this, brew. What is what in your own words, what would Colin be scared of or concerned about at this moment?
I've just had a moment where I've established myself as a man instead of a child among my older people, including my father. I do not want to embarrass myself by fucking up the shot and the drink. I gotta protect my masculinity here.
All right. So it is.
Most important role so far.
Yeah, it is an 8 on the die, and you said you have a situational +2. So yeah.
Surely, yeah, +2. So that's a total of +1.
Oh, okay. So it's a total of 9.
Yeah.
Okay. So on a 7 through 9, I tell you how your action would leave you vulnerable, and then you get to decide if you go through with it.
Okay.
The consequence of getting it all down in one manly gulp or 3 manly gulps, as the case may be, and not displaying weakness in front of your father, is that you will be given the condition queasy.
Fucking acceptable. I'm taking 3 shots of unknown liquid. That is assumed to happen. I don't even care what it does mechanically. This is how that works. You know how many times I've taken a shot knowing that it was gonna make me queasy in real life? Like, oh my god.
There.
Taking 2 back to back. Like knowing after the first one that the second one is just gonna wreck me. But nope, gotta keep it cool. Even keel. Nope. Not gonna show how awful this is. Yeah.
Yep. That's how that goes. You're able to put all of them down, and sure enough, it's you're like it's terrible. It is just god awful. And as you're chugging the beer to wipe it all down, you're almost finished with the beer. Almost. He's just a little premature when he slaps you on the back.
All right. I will cough a little bit of the beer up, just and then drink it back down because that's what happens.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah. So on that note, you can tell that the conversation with Elric on the porch is somewhat lively. But by default, that basically that's where we'll cut the scene.
Sure.
Okay.
Do I remove that wound?
What was that? Oh yeah. You
remove
clear the wound.
Yay! Magical potion to throw up.
So
Okay. So, I think, hmm, let's see. Yeah, I've got a couple of notes that we can follow up on. But I'm gonna start hitting the wall pretty soon here.
Are we gonna get? I know she. I know that they just walked out of the room, but are we gonna get Andy out of the Bay?
Yeah,
Yeah, let's do that.
yeah.
We really need to get that part taken care of. I think before we
Yeah, good call.
up. So
resolution.
Well, mostly given how ham-fisted I was at the very beginning of the session, I've been hesitant to be too controlling in that regard. But yes, we should do that.
sure. Yeah.
And just as a casual, there's been a couple of moments of misgendering. Joe prefers the they them pronouns.
Right.
Yeah, the actual player.
That's really. Yeah.
So
I'm gonna use the restroom. I'll be right back.
all right, we are basically on pause.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to think of questions.
Yeah.
She said we should come up with questions.
Yes.
And I was reading back through my notes, going, "What's interesting stuff to have questions about?" And it's like, and my brain is going back in time to when I was a kid and remembering at the end of the episodes of the Batman TV series that starred Bruce Ward and what's his name as Batman, and the at the end of every episode they would have the voiceover that would say, "Will we ever find out this? Will next time on?" It's like, and they would give us all this list of things, and then they would say, same bat time, same bat channel, and then you would not remember by the time the next show came on what any of those things were, of course. And whether or not they ever answered any of them, I have no idea. But so my mind was hearing that same voice asking these weird questions and coming up with things like, something about the suicides and satanic rituals at Devil's Rock, and the ducks in the town drunk, and the bleeding trees, and my mind went off on some other weird tangents, like what do the teachers and other kids think of this little group of people? And then I went into my characters things, and I was like, uh, will Frankie and her mom ever have their conversation? Will we learn where Frankie comes from? It's like, will Frankie's dad step up and get involved in his family? And will Frankie ever learn what happens when the scene fades to black after a kiss? Will the Axeman cometh? Who is Cordelia's father? Could it be Craig Johnson?
Oh no.
Oh.
Those were some of the entertaining things that I came up with while trying to figure out 3 questions.
Yes, I dig it. Okay. So yeah, when we last left off with Andy and Logan Amati, he was leading you through the mist, and you find yourself, and the travel in the Fey realm is non-linear and not necessarily logical. But you find yourself walking in through the back gate of what feels like an analog of the Amati estate. And your mom runs in those circles, so you may not have ever been in the estate itself, but you've seen it.
I mean,
And,
Logan taught me guitar, so
yes. Okay. So
taught
yeah.
me guitar at one point, way back when. So
Okay. Yeah.
usually not coming in the back, or at least not. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Logan is a couple paces in front of you when you both exit from this, like the mist kind of fades away and you find yourself in this clearing that's the backyard, and you see this this building that has this emotional resonance of the Amati estate, but it is more ornate. There is something just that's hard to put your finger on. It almost like in this realm of mist, it shimmers. And the yeah. So as you walk into this yard, you see Mr. Amati, who is standing about halfway into the yard, and like the yard is separated into different sections that have their own gates and their own fences and their own arches, and he is standing like on the threshold of one of those transitions. He is just on the other side of one of the arched gates. The gate itself is swung open. There is a bell that hangs from the very top of it in an ornate I'm blanking, but it's and there's a string that comes down that you could use to pull to ring it. And he's standing there. He in something of a contrast with Logan. I had mentioned that Logan was in this kind of like weird combination of modern punkish with like also wearing the kind of like poet's tunic and a belt and pouches and a codpiece and a dagger. Mr. Amati is standing there wearing just an incredibly well-tailored suit. His clothes are not medieval in any capacity. It looks fairly similar to the kind of clothes that actually it looks more businesslike and more pretentious than the clothes that he wears around, but it is still like definitely modern. And he is wearing I'm kind of picturing like the pinstripe suit with a hat that goes with it, and you're not sure if he's like this in the normal world, but like he has jewelry on all of his fingers, like he's somewhat blinged out, right? And you feel awkward about having taken this long, because this should have been the thing that jumped out to you. Like for some reason, the fact that he looks modern felt like the thing that you had to pay attention to. But you realize that he has huge antlers that come out that the hat is resting on.
Bad.
What was that?
Sorry.
Oh, okay. So yeah, he's standing there, and as you emerge from the mist, he kind of turns himself a little, and gestures towards the estate, while looking in your direction. What do you do?
Well, I'm going to greet him first off because hospitality. Like, good evening, you know. uh, Sorry I didn't bring a guest gift or something like that, you know, like and I think I'm going to attempt to let's see, gaze into the abyss, like I'm gonna take him up on the offer, but like as I'm walking up.
Mm-hmm. Sure. What are you looking for? What are you trying to find out?
Just I think it's just like it's just instinct. Like it's not. There's just. It's not. This is not the place that Andy's visited before.
Mm-hmm.
When he and Logan were learning guitar. But it looks close enough to the real world that. So I think. No, actually, I think I'm gonna look for like if there's any sort of like key or back door or whatever back to the real world, like
Okay.
if there's an access point out,
Sure.
like a sort of like fire escape, like I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So this is going to be a roll on dark.
Or if there's anything from the house that actually is like in the real world, like things that I would recognize from having been there with Logan.
Sure. You got a 6 on the die, and your dark is -1.
Yeah.
Okay. So the way that I would describe that is like you're looking for access points to the real world, or points of connection, and like there's something to that effect, but it's not what you were looking for. You realize that rather than finding ways to get to the real world from this place, you suddenly realize that those times when Logan had given you guitar lessons back here, that there was a feeling about the place that was always, I don't know, comforting, like it meshed with you in a way that most places didn't. Like it felt a little more vibrant. And as you're looking around, you realize that this is that dialed up significantly. So rather than finding a way out, you look around and realize that yes, this place is connected with the physical location, but from what you can tell, it seeps in.
Gotcha.
So yeah, And mark experience.
Yep.
And also, while we're at it, what are you most afraid of right now?
Something about being like that whole like looking for somewhere familiar and then realizing peeping in or something has kind of shocked Andy back into like remembering what exactly is going on. And so Andy is afraid of either like something like getting like because their shenanigans getting back to his mom before he can get back to his dad's and Cordelia.
Mm-hmm.
Or otherwise like that nothing after this is gonna fit because this place feels like right, like that he's never gonna stop hearing the drums.
Sure. Okay. So a little bit of a fairy market or goblin market vibe.
Yeah.
Okay. So for a keep your cool, it is a 10 on the die and a -1 for cold.
So 9.
So the MC tells you how your actions would leave you vulnerable. Decide if you go through with it. You have a fear that you'll always hear the drums, and even through the fog of the drugs, and the fog of the actual fairy realm, there's still a part of you, like you're not sure if it's your own heartbeat or if it's the drums, but there's a pulse, and it occurs to you that of everybody that you've known, and like you've the feeling that you get when you look at this version of Mr. Amati, there is a power there that you hadn't. The only other place that you've experienced this kind of this like genre was with Red Jack, and it feels very different. You get the feeling that that Mr. Amati is on a comparable level of strength to Red Jack. And if anybody could possibly keep the drums at bay, it's him. But you also looking at him, you realize that there are some parts that are similar to Red Jack, and that getting that will come at a cost. He will take the drums away, but they will be replaced by something else.
Ooh.
That's a risky bet. Drums.
Yeah.
Instead, it's chickens. 24/7 clucking away. Like, I don't know. Really depends what it is.
We're the one B.
Yeah. I mean, depending on what it like at least the drums are music, and Andy likes music. But like whatever gets replaced. Andy's gonna take it.
Okay.
Mm.
All right. There is an unspoken truth as you like hesitate on the threshold. And Mr. Amati smiles and beckons you to walk through the arch, or through the gate, to join him on the other side in his estate. So I presume you go?
Yeah.
Okay. You notice that Logan is paused at where you guys first came into the estate. So he has not followed suit, walking forward.
Hmm.
Do you respond to that in any way, or do you keep going?
Yeah, I'm gonna like like kind of turn back a little bit, and like kind of search his face and say something like you got to get me, home in time for the next music festival or something, and then turn back around and walk towards his dad.
Sure. So you told that to Logan.
Yeah.
And he chuckles and nods. And you can tell he's not leaving either. He's just hanging out on the threshold.
Right. Since he's staying, I will keep walking forward.
Okay.
Like if I got the feeling that he wasn't waiting around, then I might have backtracked.
Sure. Okay. So as you walk forward, Mr. Amati, as I described, he is smiling, and once you cross the this next threshold, he chuckles and is very welcoming, very warmly welcoming of you into this place. And this place is for you right now. This place is safe. Please feel comfortable. I've been noticing you've been about, you and your friends have been doing things, but you in particular, I see that you are becoming aware of all of this. And he like gestures around. More importantly, I'm aware that you've been hearing the call of Red Jack. Red Jack has been trying to call you to his court. I'm here to relieve you of worry about that. You come from a line of a Fae, yes? But you have it much more stronger than either of your parents. These are things that you know, yes?
I knew we came from a line of something. I've never heard anything about the courts.
He nods. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that gets lost after enough generations are removed from it. But I can tell you about these things. And he's walking with the expectation that you're following him. when a Fae comes into themselves, they, for their own safety, have to choose a court. And there are a number of courts around. Many of the ones that are local are small and can't offer very much protection. But I think that of all of them, mine has the most to offer you in particular. And I will offer you a term in my court, a position in my court for a year and a day. And then you'll be free to choose other courts if you so see it. But I would hate to see you be pulled into the influence of that red bastard. So long as you're in my court, you will have protection from him. And you will not hear the drums. And in the interest of fairness, you have a choice now. You can choose any of the courts. I honestly think that Red Jack is too feral for you, just from what I've seen. And Tristram doesn't seem your style.
I've never met Tristan.
A little heavy on the macho.
Huh.
The ritual sacrifice of animals and killing things with your bare hands and much less refined offerings than I have. Does this sound interesting?
What would service in your court entail?
Oh, since you're young and you're figuring these things out, and I'm basically offering you an internship, temporary stay until you come to a fully formed and informed decision. It would be a fairly low position. Your main duty will likely be to be a courier. That way you'll have a chance to meet the entire community. Naturally, it won't be completely restricted. As a member of the court, you will be expected to take on reasonable duties as delegated. And
Will you protect?
What's that?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
And Red Jack, he uses force and fear. I enjoy free will. It's a wonderful thing. So if you're concerned, it's a standard thing in my court that if you are given an order by somebody of higher station, that you do have the option of refusing it. There is nothing is forced on you. There will be, prices to pay for choosing otherwise, but I will be the one that determines those costs, and I'm a fair man.
Does your court's protection and hospitality extend to my friends?
He pauses. Well, Not terribly, no. It's
He's honest.
we can make additional deals, and I'm happy uh to be an active participant in the lives of the people in my court. So if something comes up, you can always bring it to me or one of the other members of the court, and perhaps we'll be able to offer assistance. And naturally, as a member of the court, small favors uh, will likely be given without any issue, or have only small repayments.
What were how do I word that question? Yeah. What's Logan's position in your court? I wouldn't have thought he'd have so much time to teach an outsider music. Or etiquette, for that matter.
He pauses. Well, you'll find first and foremost that he is my son, but that's not how one rises in court. One does it by the merits and the deals that one makes. He does have a decent standing. Actually, I made something just for this kind of moment. So let me pull up a asking a Fae a question. It can be hard to tell what's important and what's a distraction. Roll cool or dark. On 10 plus, choose 1. On 7 through 9, choose 2. On 6, choose or less, choose 3.
Well, my cold and my dark are the same. They're both -1, so.
After I hadn't looked at your stats when I was making these moves, and it occurred to me after I made these notes, like, oh boy. So okay, it is a 7 on the die, -1. So that will be a 6. So
On
choose 3. The answer is misleading. The answer is off topic. The answer is cryptic, or the answer is threatening.
all but threatening.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it said 3, right? So
yes. Yeah. And mark experience. He smiles and he like goes into it. You're asking, about Logan, and he responds about Logan by all means, and goes into this diatribe about how position in court is based on one's merits and the deals that one makes and the contributions that one makes, and being the child of any given person has very little bearing on that. I'm very proud of what he's done. He has a fair standing by his own as a result of his own efforts. He's young. I have confidence that he'll be able to rise further. Would you like to be positioned directly under him in court? Thereby completely, sidestepping.
Yeah, you do.
Under, on top, whatever.
He's a very talented fellow, and I'm sure that you would find his instruction most enlightening.
Who's that?
He could really show you the ropes, so to speak.
Oh,
Wow.
And I'm confident that the two of you could make wonderful music. What do you think? What do you say? And if you'd like, I can pause and do another small scene with somebody else for dramatic tension. Or if you feel like rolling with it, we will.
I was gonna roll with it. I wasn't quite expecting him to offer a position. Like for some reason that sets off alarm bell.
That's the what?
I think Andy's going to try and do a little bit of like baby politicking here and be like, I will be happy to accept any position in such a knowledgeable court.
No, I'm sure that I'm sure that my son will
Like basically a non-answer in return for.
I'll. This seems like a good thing. I'm sure that my son will be able to offer suitable positions.
I'm sure he will.
And like I said,
for a long time.
Informed decisions are terribly important. It's only for a year and a day. You'll be fine. Do we have a deal?
We have a deal.
Okay. I have another move. Make a deal with Faye.
And I'm still rolling on cooler dark. You did this on purpose.
Yes. The Fae gets a string on you, and they get more from the deal than they should due to misleading wording. Roll cool or dark. On 10 plus, choose 2. On 7 through 9, choose 1.
Okay.
Oh, you got 11 on the die.
Hey, 11, so 10.
So choose 2.
So 10 on the. It's still a 10.
Yeah. So you get more from them than they expected you to. They don't get any more from you than you promised. You gain a string on them, or they don't gain a string on you.
I'm going to say that I get more from them than they expected me to, and that they do not gain a string on me.
Okay. Okay. And with that, he shakes your hand. And he
And I try very hard not to wince since my palms are still burned.
Oh, fair point. Yeah, actually,
Might be worth.
yeah.
This one.
Yeah, no. Though there is a brief moment and the camera barely picks up on this. As he squeezes your hand and you try to like not wince in pain, he smiles a little.
Of course.
And he gestures towards Logan. And until you know your way around the place a little bit better, my son will show you the way out. And with that, he turns and before he walks too far away, he pauses, reaches into his pocket, walks back over. He's holding a pendant. Let's see, I think a suitable metal would be bronze.
As long as it's not iron or copper, I think it's fine.
Does bronze have?
Bronze has copper in it.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
But I mean, so far the one we've been running on is just as long as it's not iron.
Okay. I mean, we could go the other route and like either gold or silver. But
Yeah, most of the things that his mom has given him have been silver so far. So
okay. In that case, it's gold. It's a very dull gold, but not necessarily very pure. But he hands you this pendant and says, until we have the grander initiation, wear this. It'll mark you so that the other courts don't try to pull you in. And he hands you the pendant, and then he gestures to Logan for you to be able to leave.
all right.
Okay. So I want to end the session pretty soon here, but basically, one of the goals here, as Thundi or as Colin pointed out, is they get you back into the real world before too many more things happen. So when and where would you like to show up? You have the option.
I'm gonna say Logan walks me back to I wonder if they're still there.
What would be hilarious, and I'm not saying you should, I just think it's like a hilarious idea, is if you like he shows you a door and says to walk through it, and you open it and you walk through out of your closet with Olivia sitting on the bed. Like, I don't know. It just closes the door.
I was thinking it would be convenient to get the car back, but that's a pretty funny image. Like that is a TV worthy
This is a good one.
image.
I don't know how any of this works.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna say that Logan's a bit of a troll.
Okay.
And I really like the idea that this suggests that he may have known how to get to your closet at any moment in time.
Right. No.
Yes. So yeah, that sounds brilliant. That's how it plays out, Andy.
Yeah.
Okay. So congratulations, Andy. You successfully come out of the closet while Cordelia is there. So the two of you, how does this play out?
Am I still high from the mushrooms?
A little bit. Yep. Yeah, we've got one character that's high and another character that's queasy. We need to have some real action tonight.
I think Andy's just kind of gonna like walk over to Cordelia and Like, oh wait, Dad gave her snacks. I'm just gonna like walk over and be like, ooh, sandwiches.
And just FYI, after everything Cordelia's seen in general, but also after tonight, just like completely unfazed, like, oh good, I'm glad you're here. We work to do.
Like sit down, grab one of the sandwiches, offer one to her, and be like, so you'll never guess how the rest of this night went.
It's good.
I'm a fairy.
Good.
I'm out of the closet.
Shocked, I tell you.
Okay. All right. So at this moment, we have Cordelia and Andy in Andy's room. They've just, and there is as Cordelia said, like complete, like not surprised, just utterly rolling with it. Meanwhile, we have Colin and his dad having a bonding moment as Elric rather, is talking on the phone, seeing if they can track down who killed Colin's mom. And for the first time, like really applying pressure on that. And we have Frankie signing up to be taken to Tristram by Todd. Okay, there are two more two like stinger scenes that I want to throw in there just real quick. The first one is Colin. Cordelia. As Andy is going and picking up a sandwich, your phone buzzes with a text.
Mhm.
Do you check it?
Yes.
Okay. It's from somebody you wouldn't expect. We mentioned earlier, like the very first session, that like you guys had shared phone numbers and stuff to contact. It's Abby.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so it's a very small text, but it says, I need help, period, PLZ.
Oh shit. Okay.
It's accidentally summoned a demon.
Right.
Probably she would. Fucking Abby. Okay.
Monster of the
We
week.
don't have enough to deal with.
So the camera sees you like look at this text. Do we see you take any other action, or do we stop on that?
I think we could stop there.
Okay. And then so the next stinger that I wanted to throw in there is Colin.
Yeah.
As you're like holding down the queasiness,
Right.
Elric gets off the phone and comes in and looks at your dad and looks at you and says, I think we're going to get results faster than I thought. We need to head to the compound right now.
I will do my best to walk in a straight line towards the door. And just to point out, they've been feeding him alcohol the whole time. And like now some weird concoction and the thing. So it's gonna be like, all right. And then, a little bit of awkward, maybe not quite stepping straight, but like continuing on out the door as if that was normal.
Okay. All right. Oh, and Elric, like as you walk by, looks at you, then looks at your father. I'm driving.
The perfect scene cut right there. That's good.
Okay. So the result of those two things, we have a new plot thread dangling in front of Cordelia. And we now have Howlin and Frankie both nominally en route, narratively speaking, to the compound. Okay, and I to call that a night.
All right, sounds good to me.
So this is
Another fun and interesting and curiosity-inspiring evening.
That was great.
Yeah.
And
That'll
reminder, go ahead and message me with 3 questions that you want answered going into the finale.
Message them directly to you or
Yeah.
in the group.
Message them
Directly
directly
to
to me.
Okay, cool.
Sounds good.
All right. All right. Thank you
Good night,
guys.
everybody.
Thank you guys so much. We'll see you later.
Bye.